Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, Brother Tan Ho Soon has asked me to give a talk on the qualities of a wise man today. Firstly, a wise man is you can consider it from the worldly point of view and the Buddhist point of view. And these two views are very different. So today we will consider the Buddhist point of view. Worldly point of view might be if you are a billionaire, you're a wise man. If you can cheat people of $1 million, you're a wise man, but not the Buddhist way. Now, in the suttas, the Buddha said that a fool cannot recognize a wise man, and a fool also cannot recognize a fool. But a wise man can recognize a fool, and a wise man can recognize a wise man. Why is it so? Because a fool does not know what are the qualities of a wise man and what are the qualities of a fool. But a wise man knows. So hopefully after this talk, we will all be wise. That's what the Dhamma is for, to make us wise. A lot of things we don't know, the Dhamma teaches us. In the Mangala Sutta, it is stated, Asevana cha balanang pandita nancha sevana puja cha pujaniyanang etam mangala muttamang. Not to associate with fools, to associate with the wise. To honor those worthy of honor, this is the highest blessing. So the Buddha is telling us not to associate with fools, but with wise men. Why is this so? Because our friends influence us, especially when we are young. As they say, birds of the same feather flock together. There is a doctor who told me he has several brothers, and two of his brothers are drug addicts. So he told me he was very lucky. His peers showed him the way. So today he's a successful doctor, whereas two of his brothers became drug addicts. So peers are very important. Elders who advise us, who lead us, our teachers, our elders. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 129, there is a sutta called Bala Pandita Sutta, Fools and Wise Men. This is a sutta that talks a lot about fools and wise men. And there the Buddha said, a fool is recognized by three things, and a wise man is recognized by three things. A wise man thinks good thoughts, speaks good words, and does good deeds, whereas a fool does evil thoughts, evil words, and evil deeds. Good thoughts are wholesome thoughts, compassionate thoughts, kind thoughts. Thinking good about other people, not thinking to harm other people. And then good words are beneficial words, words that help other people. For example, the Dhamma. The Dhamma is the most helpful. Words of Dhamma are the most helpful. Because in the suttas, the Buddha said, the highest gift is the gift of the Dhamma. Later you'll also understand why. Also gentle words, likable words, good words. And good deeds are helpful deeds, helping other people. These three things, thoughts, words, and actions or deeds, are the three karmas. And these three karmas, you can consider there are 10 things in there concerning the body. you can do evil with your body in 3 ways. That is to kill, to steal, and to engage in sexual misconduct. That is 3 evil body karmas. So the reverse is the 3 good karmas. You don't kill, you don't steal, you don't engage in sexual misconduct. And then the 4 evil verbal karmas are lying, divisive talk. That means, say like being a batu api lah. You listen to A talking bad about B, and then another day you tell B, A said this and this and this. So you cause people to quarrel and all that. So you divide people. That is the second type of evil speech. The third is coarse speech, vulgar speech, gong chao hua. So this is the third one. And then the fourth one is idle gossip. Talking too much, cakap banyak. So wasting time. Time is very precious, especially as we are getting older. Time is very precious. So the 10 good karmas are very important. We do 10 good karmas, we are wise. If we do the 10 evil karmas, we are foolish because we will suffer for it, either now or later. In the Anguttara Nikaya 4.186, the Buddha said, a man of great wisdom does not harm himself, does not harm others, does not harm both. He thinks only of his own welfare, the welfare of others, the welfare of both, and the welfare of the whole world. Now in this Bala Pandita Sutta, another thing that is mentioned is that the wise man feels pleasure and joy here and now. Why? Because of his good karma. And because he has not done evil, he has no remorse. Remorse is something that is very harmful. Nowadays people go into depression because of remorse. So this is sometimes seen in newborn babies. Newborn babies, if you have a baby that is always smiling and laughing, you know he has got very good karma. But there are some babies crying all the time, cry baby. They probably came from not a very good place. The third thing that is mentioned in this Bala Pandita Sutta is that the wise man is free from fear. Free from fear because he is blameless, he has not done evil, so he is not afraid. So for example, if you are in your residential area and then a lot of police suddenly come, you're not a criminal or something, you won't be afraid, isn't it? But if you've got something to hide, then you're afraid. So also in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 115, the Buddha said, all fears arise in the fool, not in the wise man. So a foolish person, because of having done evil, is afraid all the time. The fourth thing mentioned in the Bala Pandita Sutta is that a wise person will have a good rebirth. There are 5 destinations of rebirth that await us when we die. Later books talk about 6 destinations, Liu, Tao, Lun, Hui, but original Buddhism talk about 5. And these 5 consist of 2 happy destinations and 3 woeful planes. The 2 happy is human rebirth and heavenly rebirth. And woeful destination is to be born as a ghost, an animal, or in hell. Okay, so wise person will be reborn as a human being or as a deva or devi. In fact, in this sutta, it is said that if a person falls into hell, he's a perfect fool. If a person goes to heaven, he is a perfectly wise man. Because the Buddha said, life is like a gamble. So this perfect fool, he goes to Genting Highland or to Sentosa Casino. He brings all his money there to gamble, hoping that he'll become a millionaire or a billionaire. And then in that one night, he loses all his money. And the Buddha says he gets himself into slavery, becomes a slave. And then even his wife and children he loses. So this is a perfect fool, isn't it? Never gambled before, suddenly gambled and lost everything. So life is a gamble. We come into this life. We also bring our capital, our punji. That is our blessings, the blessings we bring into life. And if you are a wise person, when you die, you will have more blessings than before. So you go to a better place. But the fool will use up all his blessings and not create more blessings, and he'll go for a bad rebirth. So the result of being a wise man, you go for a good rebirth. In another sutta, it is said that most human beings, after we die, we go into woeful plains of rebirth. And the reason is because of two things that they don't practice. Dana and sila. Dana is charity or generosity. That means the willingness to help other people, the willingness to help other beings, having a kind heart. And the second one is sila. Sila is not to harm others, refraining from harming others. So you have 7 precepts actually that are very important. These 7 precepts are called the Aryan precepts. A lot of people think that if you keep the 5 precepts, you can go for a good rebirth, but not 5 precepts, but 7, because Aryan precepts are found in the Noble Eightfold Path, consisting of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And you investigate these 3 factors, there are 7 precepts there. 3 body precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to engage in sexual misconduct. And verbal is 4, as I mentioned just now: not to lie, not to engage in divisive speech, not to engage in vulgar or coarse speech, not to engage in idle gossip. So these 7 precepts are extremely important. So these 2 things, if a person does these 2 things, charity and uphold the 7 precepts to a lesser degree, you will be reborn as a human being with not so good karma, not so lucky. If you keep these 2 things to a medium degree, you'll be born as a human being with a medium, medium level of livelihood. And if you do these 2 things to a higher degree, you'll be born with a lot of good luck. So dana and sila is a very basic, very basic. If you want to go to heaven, then bhavana, siu heng, siu sing is also needed, because siu sing, siu heng basically is siu lui heng ui. This word bhavana means development, and a lot of people like to think that bhavana is meditation. Bhavana is not only meditation. Bhavana is development of your mind, development of your character. And it involves listening to the Buddha's suttas, the Buddha's words, and then meditating to get the strength of mind to do what you should do and not to do what you should not do. And then the third thing is to observe your maoping, your maopeng, all your faults, all your bad habits, and change your bad habits. So the most important thing is to change your bad habits, change your character, develop your character, develop your mind so that you become an elevated person, a higher person. Because the Buddha says, if you want to go to heaven, it's not by Liam Omitawhut, The Buddha says, you want to go to heaven, right now you must change your character to be the character of a Deva or a Devi. Then only you are qualified to go to heaven. You cannot bribe heaven by saying Amitahut. So that is the way. Now, the fifth thing this Bala Pandita Sutta says is if you come back for a wise man, if you come back later as a human being, you'll be born into a high and wealthy family. It'll be good to look at, and you'll have a good life, well endowed. So these are the 5 things that a wise person gets. Just now we said a wise person does. He thinks good thoughts, he speaks good words, and he does good deeds. And the second characteristic is a wise man feels pleasure and joy here and now. The third, he's free from fear. The fourth, he has a good rebirth in the next life. And the fifth is when he comes back in future as a human rebirth, he'll be well endowed. Now there are the suttas that talk about the wise man. Anguttara Nikaya 2.99 says that a wise man carries his own burden, his own duties. He does not carry others' burdens. So when we go through life, all of us have our duties, our burden to perform. When we are young, we have to prepare to be a good adult. So our parents tell us that you must study well, so that in future you have an easier life. So the foolish boy will not want to study, he wants to lepak. And then waste his time, mix with friends who smoke and all that. Then later he has to work as a coolie, do very hard work, and get very little money for it. So that is, and then when you are young, you have to learn to be obedient, to study, and all that. And then as you become an adult, you have worldly duties to do. Yeah, you have a family to take care of, either your own family or your siblings or your relatives, your parents, grandparents to take care of. These are the duties of an adult that you have to perform because you have received from your parents, you must give back. That's only fair, isn't it? Because later you will become old yourself. And if you treat your parents well, in future your children will treat you well. Now, when we are old, we have to prepare for death and future lives. That means we have to let go of our worldly duties and carry our spiritual duties. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people, they die in harness, keep on working until you die. And then when you're about to die, you suddenly get a shock. Why do you get a shock when you're about to die? For umpteen years you have seen people dying. Yeah, you should know that one day your turn will come, isn't it? So we have to prepare for it. A lot of people, they don't never think. A lot of people don't like to think about these things. They say, "Choi." Don't talk about old age, sick and death. But that's reality we have to face. So we have to be smart. We have to prepare, because if you prepare, then when the time comes, you will not be afraid of death. Because a wise man is well prepared. When death comes, he's not afraid. Anytime he's not afraid when death comes. So don't get too involved in worldly duties. There are some people, after taking care of so many children, they still want to take care of grandchildren. That's not these worldly duties. After grandchildren, some more great-grandchildren. So it's very, very important to prepare, because to prepare yourself for future rebirth is not overnight. Something you can do overnight. It takes many years. Xiu Heng is to change your character, change your mind. It takes many years, at least 10 years. Yeah. Now another sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 4.115. There are 4 types of actions the Buddha mentioned: pleasant but unbeneficial, and then pleasant and beneficial, and then unpleasant and unbeneficial, and unpleasant but beneficial. So the first one, pleasant but unbeneficial, a lot of worldly people will chase after, like going to karaoke, sexual misconduct, hunting, fishing. This is the worldly way to enjoy yourself as much as you can, because it is pleasant. But the wise man will not do it because it is unbeneficial. In other words, it's harmful to you in the end. Yeah. So worldly people, kia ai lo si thao ti boi kho, yeah, xin tim hao fu, yeah. But people who are wise will walk the way that is thao kho boi ti, yeah. So the second one, pleasant and beneficial. A lot of people will want to do because it's pleasant. And things like physical exercise to make yourself fit, doing charity, doing social work, and all these things. That is good. The third one is unpleasant and unbeneficial. Like there are some fanatics in some religions. They go through these ascetic practices, ku sing, ko hing. They torture themselves. In India, you have some of these yogis, they hold up their hand. They can hold up their hand 1 year, 10 years. But after that, cannot bring it down. And then every day got pain. So that is unbeneficial. But because of wrong view, they do that. They think it's actually beneficial. So it's very pitiful. They're very sincere, but a bit bodoh. Now the last one is unpleasant but beneficial. For example, a student studying for exam. It's not very pleasant, but it's beneficial, so he has to do it. And then the spiritual path, especially to keep your sila, samadhi, panya, that is hard work. A lot of people won't walk that way, but because it is unpleasant. But a wise man, because he sees, even though it is unpleasant, it is beneficial, he will do it. So these are the 4 types of actions that distinguish a fool from a wise man. Now, there is an important sutta concerning karma in Anguttara Nikaya, I think 5.43. There the Buddha said, there are several things in the world that everybody wants. We want to be born beautiful, we want to be rich, we want to have a happy life, we want to have a long life, and after we pass away, we want to go to heaven. Everybody wants this, isn't it? But the Buddha said, these things that we want, we cannot get them by praying. We cannot get them by making vows. We cannot get them crying out loud for them. We cannot get them even though we think of them every day. Because the Buddha said, if we can get them, why is there so much suffering in the world? You can imagine beings in hell every day being tortured. They are crying out for hell. Who is helping? Nobody is helping them. So, for example, in Syria, now the war is going on. The people there are suffering so much. Every day they pray for help. Who is helping them? Nobody is helping them. So, the Buddha gave some examples to make us understand how vows by themselves do not work. So the Buddha said, suppose a person wanted oil. So a wise person will get sesame seeds and he will grind the sesame seeds and he gets oil. But the neighbor, foolish fellow, looking from far, he thinks he wants to get oil also. He puts sand and he grinds the sand. Can he get? He prays to Kuan Yin, also he won't get. And he grinds for 1 year, 10 years or so, he'll never get. He prays for it, he makes vows and all that, he'll never get it. Why? Because he's doing the wrong thing. So the Buddha, that's why the Buddha said, vows alone does not get us what we want. We have to work for it and do things the right way, the smart way. Another example the Buddha gave is that somebody wanted butter. So he took milk and he churned the milk, keep on churning, and the milk slowly becomes butter. Yeah, but a foolish fellow, he takes water and keeps churning the water. 10 years or so, he won't get. Yeah, so that's because he didn't do the right thing. So it is very important to do the right thing, and you can only do the right thing if you are taught the right way. The other thing I like to say is that the human life is very, very important, because in the human life, of all the 5 destinations of rebirth, we do the most karma in the human realm. Thao gao king, xiao tang, xiao sai, thinking all the time, I want to do this, want to do that. So because we keep thinking and doing this, doing that, we create a lot of karma. And this karma that we create now will decide the next few lifetimes. Not just one lifetime, but many other lifetimes. Because in the other realms, you do little karma. If a person is reborn as a cow, he keeps eating grass the whole day, he doesn't think so much. Yeah. So they don't do much karma. Ghosts also, every night go out and just cry, look for food, eat all the dirty corpses and all that by the roadside, and keep on crying. They don't use their thinking mind. So humans, we do a lot of karma. So we have to be very, very careful. Now, samsara is very scary because of what? Because of the 3 woeful planes. If we are reborn as a human being or as a deva or devi, then samsara is very pleasant, isn't it? But it's because of the 3 woeful planes that are very frightening. Some people, they have this yam yong ngan, they can see ghosts. Then you ask them, they can tell you, very scary. But then even if they don't tell you, if you have a nightmare and you have a nightmare where you are chased by ghosts, how do you feel? Very frightening, isn't it? So imagine if you are reborn as in the ghost realm, it's very, very frightening. And then as an animal, animals, why it's even more fearful, because the Buddha said, if you are caught by a bigger animal, you'll be eaten alive. Imagine your skin is torn out from you, your flesh is torn out for you, and you're crying in pain before you die. That's why animals live in great fear. You see the bird come down to the ground to eat also, one peck and he look left, one peck and he look right, looking left and right all the time. Very scared. So the worst is hell. Description of hell is given in the suttas. How you are tortured in hell. It's terrible. You are a fugitive in hell. Keep running, trying to escape from the hell beings who torture you. But every now and then you get caught. So the smart thing to do in life is what? To find a way never to be reborn as a ghost or an animal or go to hell. And luckily there is a way. If there is not a way, then we'll be suffering forever. Now, in the Samyutta Nikaya 55.62 up to 74, it is said that there are 4 factors that lead to great wisdom, that lead to vast wisdom, that lead to unequal wisdom. And what are these 4? First one is association with true men. Secondly, hearing the true Dhamma. The third is yoniso manasikara. And the fourth is practice in accordance with the Dhamma. the first one, association with true men. True men are, true men, I think the Pali word is sappurisa, and it means a true man is a person who knows the true Dhamma. And the true Dhamma is the original Dhamma of the Buddha. And we know from Wikipedia and all that, archaeologists have proven the original teachings of the Buddha are only found in 5 Nikayas. The Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. Because these were the only suttas that existed during Emperor Asoka's time. Now they have dug up the Asoka pillars, the stone pillars that Asoka king made, and carved on the pillars is the evidence that during Emperor Asoka's time, only 5 Nikayas existed. No Mahayana Sutras, no Abhidhamma, no commentaries, only these 5 Nikayas. So the second condition is hearing the true Dhamma. That means you hear these 5 Nikayas. These are the most important words you want to hear. It is said in Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught such and such, or some senior monks or some group of monks say the Buddha taught such and such, the Buddha said we should not accept it, we should not reject it, but we should compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. So it is in accordance with the suttas and the Vinaya. The Buddha said you can accept it as the Buddha's words. If not, the Buddha said reject it. This is the true Dhamma. And the third condition, yoniso manasikara, I like to translate as focus attention. Sometimes people say proper attention, sometimes Bhikkhu Bodhi says careful attention. But I say focus attention because when you listen to the Dhamma, you must have focus attention. You must focus your mind to listen. So when you pay full attention with a focused mind, that is focus attention, and that will make you understand the Dhamma that you are hearing. Now the second and the third condition, hearing the true Dhamma and having focused attention when you are listening, will lead you to understanding, and that means you will see the Dhamma and you will have the what is called Dhamma Chakku, vision of the Dhamma. And that is synonymous with right view. Once you see the Dhamma, you understand the basic Dhamma, you have right view. And right view is the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. So when you attain right view, you have entered the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the meaning of entering the stream. And stream entry, becoming an Arya, first path attainer, is understanding the basic Dhamma. The second and the third condition is very important. Hearing the true Dhamma and having a focused attention when you listen. The fourth one is practice in accordance with the Dhamma. After you have learned the Dhamma, then you must practice, carry it out. And when you practice the Dhamma, you attain higher stages of attainment of Aryahood. Because just listening will bring you to the first path. The first path, it takes some time for that wisdom to mature. By practicing, by hearing more Dhamma, by meditating and all that. And then when the wisdom matures, it becomes fruit, Sotapanna. And they said in the Suttas, Sangyutta Nikaya 25.1, that after a person attains stream entry, he will become a Sotapanna, a first fruit attainer, before he dies. That means it takes some time for that wisdom to mature. And then when he attains Sotapanna, the 3 fetters fall away. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 115, it is also said, just now I just recap the 4 factors that lead to vast wisdom, that is association with true men, hearing the true Dhamma, focus attention, and then practice in accordance with the Dhamma. These four conditions are also called the conditions for stream entry. In some other sutta and the Samyutta Nikaya, they're called the four conditions for stream entry. If you want to become an Arya, first path attainer, you have to fulfill these four conditions. In the Majjhima Nikaya 115, a monk is called wise if he is skilled in the Dhamma. Because if a person is skilled in the Dhamma, he understands the Dhamma, then he will cultivate wholesome states and he will avoid unwholesome states. If you cultivate wholesome states, you benefit yourself and you benefit others. If you cultivate unwholesome states, you'll harm yourself and you will harm others as well. Now, just now we talked about right view, stream entry. When we attain right view, we eliminate ignorance and delusion. There are three causes of suffering, we know, greed, hatred and delusion. In the suttas it is said that greed is not extremely harmful but very hard to eliminate. For example, some people like to eat good food. Whenever there is good food, they cannot restrain themselves. So now you get a lot of obese people, yeah? Malaysia is one country with a lot of obese people, yeah? So it is not extremely harmful, but very hard to eliminate. It is a weakness, very hard to eliminate. Hatred is extremely harmful, but easier to eliminate. If you hate some people, you might kill them. Like recently we had in Orlando, isn't it? This gunman. People he doesn't know just because of his view that gay people and lesbians are deviant people that should be eliminated. Then he killed innocent people for nothing. They never harmed him. Yeah. So this hatred is extremely harmful, but easier to eliminate because once you correct his view, once he understands, then he can get rid of that hatred. Then delusion is something that is extremely harmful and very hard to eliminate. Delusion, you are ignorant, but you don't know you are ignorant. You believe you are right. Like some people, because of their views, they kill many people and they think they will go to heaven for it. So that is extremely harmful and very hard to change the delusion, very hard. In the Anguttara Nikaya 10.105, it is said that ignorance, which is usually accompanied by shamelessness and recklessness, will lead to wrong view, and wrong view will lead to wrong thoughts, and then to wrong speech, wrong actions, and this will lead to all unwholesome states or all unwholesome qualities that will harm a lot of people. But the true knowledge, this is knowledge of the Dhamma, will give you right view, which will lead to right thoughts, right speech, right action, which will lead to all wholesome states. So true knowledge or right view, that is Aryan right view, is very beneficial. In the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 43, it is said that a wise man understands the Four Noble Truths. If a person understands or has a basic understanding of the Four Noble Truths, he has attained right view. And that means he has become an Arya. So in this sutta also it is mentioned that to attain stream entry, only two conditions are necessary. The voice of another teaching you the Dhamma, the true Dhamma, and you have focused attention when you listen to it. It is also said that the purpose of wisdom is knowledge, full understanding, and abandoning or letting go. So if you have wisdom, you will have knowledge, you will have understanding, and you will let go. Sometimes some people go for retreat and then they come back, they say, oh, the teacher certified and they're Sotapanna already. But you see whether they can let go or not. If they cannot let go, cannot be. In the Anguttara Nikaya 5.53, it is said that the wise man possesses the wisdom that sees arising and passing away. the wisdom which is Aryan and penetrative or deep, and leads to the complete destruction of suffering. So a wise man possesses the wisdom that sees arising and passing away is impermanence. If you see impermanence in everything in the world, then you see suffering. To give you a good example, suppose one day the doctor tells you that you have 4th stage cancer, a big tumor inside you didn't know. So you have 4th stage cancer, and the doctor says you have 3 months more to live. Then suddenly you see impermanence, yeah? And because of that, now you see suffering, yeah? You don't see suffering when you're in meditation, you're sitting so nice and comfortable. How can you see suffering? But if somebody tells you that you have 4th stage cancer, then you really see suffering. So the wise man, he sees the nature of the world is impermanent. And because of that, he awakens to the danger of samsara, the danger of existence. And if he investigates the Dhamma, he knows that there are woeful planes of rebirth that are really frightening. And then he makes up his mind to do something instead of going the normal, happy way, enjoying life. And it is said in some other sutta that once you understand the basic Dhamma and you see impermanence and you see suffering, then you will withdraw from society. You will withdraw from all your friends who go for the happy hour, go to Hajjai and all that. You withdraw and you live a more secluded life. And then some of your friends will think, what happened to this fellow? Now he's a funny fellow. Don't want to mix with us. Aryans are funny fellows. They are not normal fellows. So there's one sutta, Sangyutta Nikaya 12.19. The Buddha said, these are quite strong words. The difference between the wise man and the fool is the living of the holy life for the ending of suffering. So a really wise man, he cultivates the spiritual path to end suffering. A foolish man will still want to continue to enjoy worldly life, worldly pleasures, and in the end, when time comes, then he'll be a very worried man. You can see some people just a few days before they die, they're very scared to close their eyes, because every time they close their eyes, they see Ho Hia Ti Lai Liao, Akong, Ama, all that. So some of them dare not switch off the light at night when they sleep. Dare not be left alone in the room. That's not a good sign. There's some even worse. Before they die, they're crying. And I heard of one lady was dying of cancer. She was crying every day, and her close friends asked her why. She said, "Who has tied me up in chains? It's all in iron chains." And she's going to hell. So you won't know until a few days before you die where you're going. So you have to prepare for it. If you're wise, you'll prepare for it. And the best way is to study the Dhamma, listen to the suttas. By the way, this morning I brought 50 micro SD cards in English and 50 micro SD cards, Hokkien talks. It's in the office. If you all want, you can go and get it there. So I shall end here and invite any questions or anything to discuss.
Let's rejoice in Bhante's teaching by saying sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So we thank Bhante for a good teaching from the Nikaya. Questions are invited. Anyone who would like to ask question, you can ask in English or Hokkien. Please take the opportunity to ask questions. Don't be shy. Yeah. Anyone would like to ask questions? Or clarify? Yep.
Bhante, I'd like to ask a question. I mean, in a lay perspective, we are always judging. Sometimes when we listen to Dhamma talks, we sleep. But when we are actually in association with friends, chit-chatting, we are so awake and attentive. And then when we listen to a Dhamma talk, we say, oh, this Bhante or this speaker no good, this speaker good. See? So maybe Bhante, you can actually help to clarify. The appreciation of listening to Dhamma comes from our affinity towards a teacher, or affinity towards Dhamma itself, the investigation. Why is it that some people find it interesting to listen, while others are total abhorred towards listening to it or even wanting to hear it? Thank you.
That has very much to do with our past lives, our affinity to the Dhamma. Whether you like to listen to Dhamma or you don't like, or you like a certain monk or you don't like his face. So there are some people, their karma is so heavy that they cannot come near the Dhamma. I give you an example of a very extreme case. An old man told me the auntie has a very nasty character, very bad temper. So much so the children cannot stand her, send her to the nursing home. But maybe because she was old or so. And even in the nursing home, sometimes she get into these tantrums. Nobody can control her. It's like xiao liao for that moment, man. So one day she had this tantrum, and they had to get the nurse to give her injection to go to sleep. And then after she fell asleep, 2 teeth came out so long, Dracula teeth, so long. And then they got a shock. Then they called the children. 3 children came in their cars to see. And this old man who told me, he happened to be passing there. And then he saw the cousin's cars there. Then he thought maybe the auntie died. He stopped his car, he went in. When he saw also, he got a shock. The teeth were so long. 2 Dracula teeth. And 2 days later, this auntie died. When she died, the 2 teeth disappeared. That means she already turned into a ghost. That's why we Chinese, we say we have a ling hun inside.